Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second session in our series on being effective caretakers, helping to lift others up without getting down ourselves. I'd like to thank you all for joining me here this morning. As always, as we're going through the questions, if you feel like you need more time to think about a question, please pause the video. Take as much time as you need. I'm doing this for you all. Not to hear myself talk, I promise. For those of you that are following through with the reading in your Bibles at home, just so you have time to get to it, we are going to be in the book of Exodus, chapter 17. We read chapter 16 last time. We're reading chapter 17 this time. As we're going through the questions, if we come across a question that has more than 5 answers, generally speaking, I will reread the question and the answers again a second time. Otherwise, if you need to hear it again, please feel free to rewind. Every question and answer probably takes no more than 30 seconds to hear again. Today's subject is dealing with demands. So with that in mind, let's jump right in. As always, if you would like to leave your comments, your answers down below in the comment section, either on the Facebook page or on the YouTube page, please feel free to do so. I would love to hear your responses. As always, we do have a couple icebreaker questions. So first icebreaker question is, what do you complain about the most? Traffic, work, the weather, or something else? For me, I think the biggest thing right now is politics. Just being that we are in a presidential election season, politics, I feel, would be kind of on the forefront of everyone's mind as we're getting closer to November. We're thinking about who are we going to vote for, why are we going to vote for them, where do they stand on all these different issues, so on and so forth. So not even so much complaining about the different candidates, but just complaining about all of the campaigns that you can't go more than 5 seconds on TV without seeing one. Basically, the candidates being all over the news, the huge publicity they get, as it were. But that's me. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of politics to begin with, so take that with a grain of salt. Outside of that, though, I think of the choices given, the one that I would complain about the most is, at this point, the weather. Just on Saturday or Friday, whichever one it was, we had a 30-degree difference in a 6-hour period of time, and I had a massive headache just because of that difference in temperature in such a short period. So, and even this week, my wife's and my dog, we like to take him for a walk. He doesn't like walking in the rain, so the fact that it's going to be raining all week, we're kind of complaining a little bit about that because we know he's going to be complaining to us. That's my answer. Let me know what you all think in the comments section down below. What do you complain about the most? Our second icebreaker question is, as a kid, how often did you raise your hand in class? Elementary school, not that often. Middle school through high school and into college, graduate school, all the time. Transitioning from elementary school to middle school, something changed in me. I became much more of a teacher's pet, and I started raising my hand a lot more. I was the one who liked sitting front row center because I liked having the better grades. I liked having answers to all of my questions, so on and so forth. So I was, shall we I was, shall we say, a teacher's pet. I can actually remember in college, I took a human anatomy class. Out of 100, 120 students, I was always front row center, right up by the teacher. So I was always raising my hand, and by the end of the semester, I could hear people scoffing, sighing, and groaning whenever I raised my hand. I was curious. I had all of these questions that I wanted answered, and what do you know? I got an A in the class. So it served me well. What about you all? Did you raise your hand a lot when you were in class? Jumping now into the reading, again, we are in Exodus chapter 17. Listen now for the word of our Lord. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" But the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to take us and our children and to make us and our children and livestock die of thirst?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Walk on ahead of the people. Take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till the sun set. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord. The Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God. Jumping right into the questions. First question. Wandering homeless in the desert, what would you have said to Moses? "You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. This is quite an adventure. Thanks for bringing me along. Excuse me, there's no water out here. Excuse me again, there's no food either. What are you trying to do? Kill us?" As much as I like to think that I would be humble, kind of see, okay, Moses did save us, he brought us out of slavery, he is doing as the Lord commands, he is doing what is best for us. I recognize I am nonetheless human. So I would probably be going with the last one. What are you trying to do? Kill us? There's no water, there's no food. The food, once we are given food, as we read last Thursday, we have to gather the manna and the quail. If we do not eat it, it starts growing maggots, molding, and has to be thrown out. So we get food. The food doesn't last long. There's no water because we're in the middle of a desert. The name of the desert of sin. That is a really, I don't want to say hostile, but not exactly the friendliest sounding of names. So I feel like I probably would go with the fifth and last answer. Just, what are you trying to do? Kill us? But I'm human. What can you do? Let me know how you all would have responded to Moses down in the comments section below. Question number 2. How would you describe Moses' response to the complaints of the people? Anger, concern, frustration, helplessness, self-pity, or something else? Again, how would you describe Moses' response to the complaints of the people? Anger, concern, frustration, helplessness, self-pity, or something else? I would say helplessness. People are complaining about lack of food. He approaches God saying, they're about ready to stone me. They complain about there not being water to drink. He approaches the Lord saying, they're about ready to stone me. And again. So no matter what Moses is doing, regardless of if it is the Lord's direction or not, the people are getting testy. They're getting angry with Moses, even though it's technically the Lord leading them. He feels helpless to appease their desires. He doesn't know offhand what to do. The Lord is having to tell him, strike the rock, take the elders with you, so on and so forth. Moses is kind of just a middleman, and he doesn't know what to do of his own will. But he's the one getting the brunt of the complaints, the anger and frustration, as it were. So my reaction is helplessness. Let me know if you either agree with that or if you feel differently down in the comments section. Third question. What do you do when you get really frustrated? Punch a wall, go shopping, cry out to the Lord, take a walk, talk to a friend, or something else? For me, it's generally take a walk. The biggest when I get really frustrated, kind of going off on my own, kind of just having all this built up energy and wanting to release it in a healthy manner. One way that I do that is going for a walk. I have energy. What better way to use it than getting some exercise, working it off, quite literally. Occasionally talking to a friend has worked for me. Talking to my wife is definitely more effective than talking to a friend. But then again, hopefully that's the case with everyone, talking to their significant other, be that boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. On the other hand, I love playing piano. There's a beautiful grand piano here at the church. So if it's really bad, if I go for a walk, I'm still really frustrated, I'll come here and I will play piano, because music has an effect on me that walking, talking don't. I'm not only expelling energy, playing the keys on the keyboard and or piano, but I'm refocusing on the music. My mind is no longer focusing on what is bothering me. It's focusing on what keys do I need to hit. Okay, oh, that's a sharp, not a flat, whatever. And as it's going along, I'm hearing the music. That music is reducing my stress level. It's calming me because music itself calms me. So, those are generally my responses. I think it really depends on how frustrated, how stressed I am, and over what. Those are my responses, though. Let me know what you all do down in the comment section below. Question number 4. Why did the Israelites only win the battle when Moses' staff was raised? It was just a coincidence. There was power in the staff. It was a motivational tool. God responded to the appeal for help and empowerment. God works through his servants' hands. Ooh, this is a fun question. Definitely, you could view it as a motivational tool. If you're at a sporting event, baseball, football, hockey, whatever, your team scores a goal, a run, a touchdown, whatever the technical term for your sport of choice is, you get excited, you jump up out of your seat, your hands are in the air, yeah, we won, whatever. Throwing your hands in the air is a sign of excitement. So to speak, if the Israelites see that, that might be motivational for them. Moses is getting excited that they are doing well. Definitely there is power in the staff. Just with the staff in hand, Moses caused the plagues of Egypt. He parted the seas. He turned the Nile red as blood. He has caused water to come out of rock. There are all these things, so you could argue the staff has some level of power as well. And definitely the last two, God responded to the appeal for help and empowerment. Some people, when they're praying, they're lifting their hands up like this. They might raise their hands up like this, almost as a sign of appealing, kind of like channeling that energy. Definitely God works through his servants' hands, so almost maybe you could view it as something of, Moses' hands were a transmitter of sorts. God power comes in through one hand, goes out the other to the Israelites down the hill. Any of these are viable options. You could argue that it was just sheer coincidence, too. All right. 5th question. What has held up your arms during times of crisis or great stress? And how are you being an Aaron or her and giving support to others? My wife has definitely held up my arms in times of stress. My best friend, Matt, has been a great support in times of crisis or great stress. My family, parents, brothers, sisters-in-law, nieces and nephews, having them around, they've definitely been helpful. The I mean, even the congregation here that I serve now, with moving over 1,000, almost 1,000 miles from my wife's and my, what we will always call home in the Detroit area in Michigan to Northwest Arkansas, that's a huge transition. And now, or losing my train of thought here. So not only is that a huge transition just going from point A to point B, but now we're in this place that we don't know. So being supported during that kind of stressful time of getting settled in, unpacking boxes, moving boxes in, we had immense help from a number of the congregants, not only in finding a house, but in unloading the U-Haul, the cars into the house, getting the fridge out of the garage on the lowest level up to the kitchen on the upper level. My congregation has been a great help. I cannot stress that enough. As for being, how have I been like Aaron or her and given support to others? It's in my job description to support congregants here. So definitely calling them on a regular basis, doing these Bible study lessons, doing condensed services on Sunday mornings, or whenever there's another major day of worship, like Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, something like that. I give support to my wife. If my family needs support for anything, I'm always here for them. If a friend needs help, I'm always here to help. So, I make myself available, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. Those are my responses. Let me know how you all would respond in the comments below. Question number 6. What lesson is there in this battle for you? The battle belongs to the Lord. I need to be willing to accept help from others. I need to let God use me by helping others, or something else. I would argue any of these is a valid answer. Everything belongs to God. Everything is within God's plan. Everything is usable in God's plan, the good, bad, and the ugly. So definitely the battle belongs to the Lord for sure. Being willing to accept help from others. As humans, on the whole, there are cases where people are willing to accept their vulnerability, kind of admit when they are weak, but our society, reinforced by social media, what's on television, in the movies, you see all of these, the superheroes are all muscular and beefed up, and this supercomputer embodied in an android, or this alien from outer space, they can't stand up against Superman, Batman, the X-Men, whoever. These superheroes are really beefed up. They're strong. Nothing can knock them down, so to speak. Well, we have this reinforced message that being weak is not a good thing. Being vulnerable is not a good thing. So, admitting when we need help, being willing to accept that help, those are Those are basically admitting, hey, I need help. And being willing to accept that help, it's not the easiest thing. It isn't. We, as humans, we are, on the whole, better at offering help, helping people up off the ground when they have fallen, as opposed to asking for help when we have fallen, so to speak. So, that's a viable answer. The last option is I need to let God use me by helping others. Definitely, we need to be willing to do the Lord's work. That is our calling as Christians, is to love as we have been loved, to show mercy as we have been shown mercy. Or, as I even argued in a sermon a few weeks ago, probably very shortly before Easter, to serve as we have been servants. Jesus is referred to as the servant king. Paradoxical, but arguably oxymoronic even, but Jesus came not to be served, but to serve. So there definitely, we need to have a willingness to serve others, to do the Lord's work, and not just say, well, okay, I'm forgiven, no matter what I do, I can do whatever I want now, la-di-da. There is another option. I can't think of other options, but if you have something else, please let me know. I'd love to hear your other response, or if you lean towards one of the three that I mentioned. Question number 7. When do you tend to ask God for help? During a spiritual battle, in a crisis, when I'm stressed out, daily, never, or something else, an other. So again, when do you ask God for help? Spiritual battle, crisis, stressful times, on a daily basis, never, or something else. All 4? I pray nightly and try as often as I can to, consciously say the words, please forgive me of my sins. Help me to not be as tempted by sin in the days to come. Help me to forgive myself of my sins. Definitely when I'm stressed out, I've been known to pray, to ask God to help me kind of make it through this time, have some greater clarity as to what do I need to do. In a crisis, in a spiritual battle, those two go in tandem with me, so, in my mind anyway, so that's me. But definitely in the hard times. I think that lifting up our anxieties, lifting up our hardships to God, putting them on Him, saying, I trust you, I know you will lead me through this, guide me, I will follow you. That's one of the best things we can do. That's my response though. Let me know what you all do in the comment section down below. Number 8, what battle would you like the Lord to fight for you right now? And how do you feel about enlisting the help of others? I can't think of a particular battle that I would want the Lord to fight for me right now, but if you all have one, please let me know in the comment section down below. Other part of the question is, how do you feel about enlisting the help of others? I'm someone of a very quid pro quo mindset, so if I have done something for someone else, I may have it in my mind that, hey, this balances out. I did them a favor, they're doing me a favor, we're even. Or the reverse of that, I'm doing them, or they're doing me a favor. I owe them one in the future down the line, just to balance things out. So, I don't mind help. I don't mind helping. Asking for help, again, that ties into vulnerability and potentially feeling weak, not able to manage it by myself. But sometimes there are battles that we can't win by ourselves, no matter how hard we try. Sometimes we need help. And the strongest thing to do is to admit that we're not always at our strongest. Sometimes we are weak for whatever reason. That's my response, though. Let me know what you all think in the comment down below. Last question, as always, how can this group pray for you all? If you all have prayer requests, please leave them in the comment section, shoot me an email, give me a call, either at the church or on my cell phone. If you don't want it brought up on Sunday mornings, you just want you want me to pray with you, not for you, please let me know that. I don't want to reveal any hardships that someone might be going through if they're not ready to let others know. Regardless, that's all for this session. I'd like to thank you all again for joining me today. Tomorrow we will be moving into Exodus 18 and talking about sharing the load, not having to bear our loads by ourselves, not having to go it alone and be lone wolves, as it were. So I hope you will join me tomorrow for that. Sounds like it will be an interesting subject. But until tomorrow, stay safe, stay well, and as always, God bless.